Peppa Pig, Grandpa Pig's greenhouse. Peppa and George are at Granny and Grandpa Pig's house. They race across the garden to find Grandpa Pig. "Hello, Grandpa!" shouts Peppa. George has found a ball and is playing with it. "Careful, George! My greenhouse is made of glass, which breaks easily," says Grandpa Pig. Grandpa Pig throws the ball out of harm's way. The ball goes over the fence and lands in Grandad Dog's garden. "Ruff! Oi! Who keeps throwing footballs at my greenhouse?" Grandad Dog calls over the fence. Grandpa Pig goes to speak to Grandad Dog. "Call that a greenhouse? It's a pile of old rotten windows," says Grandpa Pig. "Ruff! It'll grow more than you do with your fancy glass box. Ruff!" Grandpa Pig decides to leave Grandad Dog to his gardening. "Could I have some tomatoes, please, Grandpa Pig?" asks Granny Pig. "I'm afraid the tomatoes aren't ready yet," says Grandpa Pig. Maybe Grandad Dog will lend us some of his," suggests Granny Pig. "Grandad Dog," calls Granny Pig, "do you have any tomatoes that we can borrow?" "Ruff! Borrow? You can take as many as you like," says Grandad Dog. Everyone goes into Grandad Dog's greenhouse. "These look a lot bigger than your tomatoes, Grandpa," says Peppa. "They may be bigger, but that doesn't mean they're better," replies Grandpa Pig. Yummy! This is the best tomato I have ever tasted, ever, says Peppa, tasting one. Says Grandpa Pig. Now Granny Pig has a basket full of delicious tomatoes. "We're going to make a tomato salad," says Granny Pig. Grandad Dog tells her about his special tomato and basil salad recipe. "Ruff, the problem is I don't have any basil," sighs Grandad Dog. "My grandpa has lots of lovely basil," says Peppa. Grandpa Pig shows them the basil he has grown in his greenhouse. "Ruff, very impressive," says Grandad Dog. Peppa and George are feeling hungry now. "Is it lunchtime yet?" asks Peppa. "Ruff, it's time to make the salad. First, we slice up the tomatoes," says Grandad Dog. "Then we use a little splash of olive oil. Don't forget to add these lovely basil leaves," says Grandpa Pig. "Ruff, time to tuck in, everyone," says Grandad Dog. Grandad Dog's tomatoes are marvellous, and Grandpa Pig's basil leaves are beautiful. "This is the best tomato salad in the world ever!" cheers Peppa. And that was Peppa Pig, Grandpa Pig's greenhouse.
Peppa Pig, Mr. Bull, in a china shop. It's a lovely day. Daddy Pig is taking everyone out for a drive. "Stop!" shouts Mr. Bull. "We're digging up the road." "Digger!" shouts George. George likes diggers. Daddy Pig waits at the red light. "Will the digging take long?" asks Mummy Pig. "It will take as long as it takes," shouts Mr. Bull. Mr. Bull walks off. It's time for his tea break. Oh dear, now we'll have to wait even longer, says Mummy Pig. Why don't you join us? Booms Mr. Bull. Thank you, says Mummy Pig, smiling. Everybody sits down. Mr. Bull pours out the tea. That's a nice teapot, says Peppa. Yes, snorts Mr. Bull. It's made of delicate china. Mr. Bull puts the teapot down on the table too hard. Oh no, he yells. I've broken it. Mr. Bull doesn't know his own strength sometimes. He is very sad. Miss Rabbit has a china shop, says Mummy Pig. She could mend the teapot. Good idea, shouts Mr. Bull. We'll go right now. Mr. Bull drives all the way to the china shop. Miss Rabbit is hard at work. Moo! Bellows Mr. Bull. Miss Rabbit looks up. Ah! She wails. A bull in a china shop. I have broken my china teapot, cries Mr. Bull. Miss Rabbit takes a look at the teapot. She frowns. That's very broken. But I think I can fix it. Miss Rabbit gets out some glue. Fixing a teapot is like doing a jigsaw puzzle. The pieces fit together, says Peppa. There's just one funny shaped bit left, says Miss Rabbit. Peppa giggles. Miss Rabbit has found the handle. Miss Rabbit gives the teapot back to Mr. Bull. It's as good as new, he bellows. Thank you. Be careful not to smash it again, says Miss Rabbit. I am very good at smashing things, agrees Mr. Bull. Outside the china shop, there is a hole in the road. Look, boss, says Mr. Labrador. Mr. Bull makes up his mind. Miss Rabbit can't have a hole outside her shop. You fix my teapot, shouts Mr. Bull. I'll fix your road. How are you going to mend the hole? Wonders Peppa. Mr. Bull grins. We'll dig up the road. Mr. Bull likes digging up the road. And that was Mr. Bull in a china shop.
Peppa Pig. Peppa and George's garden. Daddy Pig is sitting in his favourite sunny spot, reading a newspaper.
What a perfect day for doing nothing, says Daddy Pig. The only way that it could make it better would be a cup of tea.
He goes inside the house to make one. Grandpa Pig has come to see Peppa and George. You're going to have your very own flower garden, he tells them. Peppa and George are very excited. We need a nice sunny spot to plant your seeds, says Grandpa Pig. Grandpa Pig finds the perfect sunny spot to start digging Peppa and George's garden. When the garden is ready, Peppa and George will plant their seeds.
Oh, gasps Daddy Pig. What's going on?
We're making a flower garden, says Peppa.
But that's where I sit in my chair and read my newspaper, cries Daddy Pig.
Flowers are more important than chairs and newspapers, says Peppa. It is time to plant the seeds. Look, Daddy, cries Peppa. Peppa has lots of flower seeds. George only has one flower seed, but it is a big one. Some birds have come to see what Peppa and George are doing. They start to eat the seeds. "Shoo! Shoo!" calls Peppa. "Leave our flower garden alone." Daddy Pig gets some water to help the seeds to grow. As soon as they see Daddy Pig, the birds fly away. "Daddy scared the birds!" cheers Peppa. Grandpa Pig laughs. "Daddy Pig looks like a scarecrow." "Peppa, George, bath time," calls Mummy Pig. "But what if the birds come back?" asks Peppa. "Don't worry, Peppa. I'll make sure the birds don't eat the seeds," says Daddy Pig. The birds have come back again. Tweet, 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 tweet. Luckily, Daddy Pig is there to scare them away. "Shoo! Shoo! Naughty birds!" cries Daddy Pig. Daddy Pig guards the seeds until the birds have gone to bed. He is a very good scarecrow. It is 1 week later. "Peppa, George, come and look," calls Daddy Pig. "The seeds have grown," says Peppa. "My flowers are so pretty." "And George's plant is very tall," says Daddy Pig. "It's a beanstalk," cries Peppa. "It goes all the way up to a giant's castle." "Oh, no, Peppa," says Daddy Pig. "It's a flower, but it does go quite high." "George's flower is taller than our house," says Peppa. "George has grown his sunflower," explains Grandpa Pig. "Sunflowers are very tall plants." "Well done, George!" And well done, Daddy," says Peppa. "You were a great scarecrow." And that was Peppa Pig. Peppa and George's garden.
Peppa. Peppa goes to Hollywood. Peppa Pig goes to Hollywood. Peppa and George were watching their favourite superhero, Super Potato, on television. "Win a trip to America to star in my new film, Vegetables in Space," announced Super Potato. "Just find my golden ticket to join me and my co-star, Hash Brown, here in Hollywood." "Ooh!" gasped Peppa. Peppa ran into the kitchen where Mummy and Daddy Pig were making dinner. "Mummy," said Peppa, "can we find Super Potato's golden ticket, please?" "There's only one ticket in the whole world, Peppa," said Mummy Pig. "We'd have to be very lucky to find it." Just then, Mummy Pig said, "Oh, there's something in this potato." "It's the golden ticket!" gasped Peppa and Daddy Pig. "We're going to America!" "Hooray!" A few days later, they were on the plane. "This is your captain speaking," announced their pilot, Miss Rabbit. "We'll soon be arriving in America, I think. Does anyone know where it is?" "Is that it?" asked Peppa, peering through the window. Peppa was right. It was America. Outside the airport, a bright yellow taxi arrived to collect them. The driver looked very familiar. "Hey, Miss Rabbit, at your service! Where do you want to go?" "You're Miss Rabbit?" gasped Peppa. "We have a Miss Rabbit at home." "Every town needs a Miss Rabbit," said the taxi driver. "Hop in!" "Is this Hollywood?" asked Mummy Pig. "No," said Miss Rabbit. "This is New York, the city that never sleeps. I'll give yous a tour."
New York was a very busy city and very big. Miss Rabbit got Peppa and George ice creams, then took everyone to the first stop on their New York tour, the Empire State Building. When they reached the top, Daddy Pig closed his eyes.
"Oh, I can't look,"
he said. "But there's so much to see, Daddy," cried Peppa. Miss Rabbit popped on her tour guide cap. "With this telescope, you can see the Statue of Liberty," she said. Peppa looked through the telescope and across New York Harbour. "I can see a big green lady with an ice cream. Hee hee!" she cried, holding her own cone in the air. "Look at me! I'm the Statue of Liberty." The next stop was Times Square. "Look!" called Peppa, pointing at a billboard. "That's the film we're going to be in. You need to go to Hollywood," said Miss Rabbit. "I have just the thing to get you there." "A motorhome," said Miss Rabbit. She threw Daddy Pig the keys and Peppa's family climbed aboard. It had been a very busy day in New York. Peppa and her family needed a good night's rest in the motorhome before the journey to Hollywood.
"Oh, for a city that never sleeps, it's made me very sleepy," ho, ho, ho,
said Daddy Pig. The next day, Peppa and her family got straight on the road to Hollywood. "Are we there yet, Daddy Pig?" asked Mummy Pig.
Let's ask someone,"
he replied. They pulled up outside a nearby diner, where someone familiar-looking was strumming a guitar. "Howdy, folks! I'm Miss Rabbit." "It's another Miss Rabbit!" Peppa cried. "Yep, there are a lot of us around," replied Miss Rabbit. "Now, what can I do for you? Do you need gas or a bite to eat?" "Are we in Hollywood?" asked Mummy Pig. "No, ma'am, you're a long way from Hollywood," said Miss Rabbit. "But as you're here, why don't you get some home cooking in your bellies?"
"Well, I suppose we could stop for breakfast,"
said Daddy Pig. After a delicious breakfast of eggs, Miss Rabbit took Peppa's family country dancing and monster trucking. "Daddy's truck is jumping up and down in muddy puddles," Peppa cheered. But there was no time to waste if they were going to make it to the film set. Peppa and her family had to say goodbye. "Hash Brown is my favourite actor," said Miss Rabbit. "Tell him howdy from me." Daddy Pig drove for miles and miles until... "Stop!" yelled Mr. Bison. "Canyon ahead, and if you want to know more, there's information desk over there." Peppa and her family met another Miss Rabbit at the information desk. She gave them a tour of the Grand Canyon in her helicopter. "Wow!" cried Peppa. "Amazing, isn't it?" said Miss Rabbit. "These rocks have been here since the time of the dinosaurs." "Dinosaur! Grrr!" shouted George. Miss Rabbit's tour continued with a ride down some rapids and a visit to the Grand Canyon caverns, where she showed them animal pictures drawn a long, long time ago. "Ooh!" cried George. Daddy Pig drove out of the desert. "Are we nearly there yet?" asked Peppa.
I don't know,"
said Daddy Pig.
"Let's stop and look at the map."
"Sir, did you know you must only stop on a freeway if it's an emergency?" said a police officer. "It's another Miss Rabbit," said Peppa. "Miss Rabbit, it is an emergency. We've won tickets to be in Super Potato's new film, Vegetables in Space," added Mummy Pig. "In that case, head straight on till you see the Hollywood sign. If you don't see the sign, look out for the stars," said Miss Rabbit. George spotted them first. "Star! Star!" he shouted.
Then Peppa spotted 2 real-life stars. "It's Super Potato and Hash Brown!" she cried. "We won the competition to be in your film, Vegetables in Space," said Peppa. "Then let's go to the studio," cried Super Potato. "We've got a film to make." On the film set, Peppa and her family were dressed up as broccoli. Then the filming began. "Lights, camera, action!" Hundreds of space carrots zoomed towards Super Potato and Hash Brown's spaceship. "Oh no!" shouted Super Potato. "These naughty carrots will destroy the universe." "If only there was some way of getting rid of them," cried Hash Brown. "We could eat them," said Peppa, "but it looks like there are too many." Just then, some unexpected visitors arrived at the studio. "Hello," said several familiar voices. "We couldn't miss meeting Hash Brown." It was Miss Rabbit, Miss Rabbit, Miss Rabbit, Miss Rabbit, and Miss Rabbit. "We have to eat the carrots," explained Peppa. "It's to save the universe." The Miss Rabbits were very happy to help. They loved carrots even more than they loved Hash Brown. "We did it!" cried Super Potato. "Hooray!" Everyone cheered. The universe was saved, thanks to Peppa and all the Miss Rabbits. "Hey, have you had a good time on your trip, Peppa?" asked one Miss Rabbit. "Yes," said Peppa. "The best bit was everything!" "Ha ha ha! Hee hee hee! Ho ho!" Peppa loves Hollywood. Everyone loves Hollywood. And that was Peppa Pig. Peppa goes to Hollywood. Peppa Pig. Peppa in space. Peppa Pig. Peppa in space. It was Space Day at Playgroup. Peppa and her friends were very excited. "Does anyone know what space is?" asked Madame Gazelle. "Space is the physical universe between the Earth's atmosphere," said Edmund Elephant. Edmund was a bit of a clever clogs. "That's right, Edmund," said Madame Gazelle. "And today we are going to talk about something you find in space." "The moon?" shouted all the children. "Yes," said Madame Gazelle. "Ruff! Can I live on the moon?" asked Danny Dog. "It is possible," replied Madame Gazelle, "but you would need to take oxygen, water, and lots of other things with you." "Can you jump in muddy puddles on the moon?" asked Peppa. "No," said Madame Gazelle. "There is no rain to make puddles." "What can you do on the moon then?" asked Peppa. "You'll soon find out," said Madame Gazelle, "because today we are going to the moon," shouted Pedro Pony. "Not exactly," said Madame Gazelle. "We're going to the Space Museum." "Oh," sighed the children. "At the museum, you will be trained to be astronauts," said Madame Gazelle, "and see what it's like to walk on the moon." "Wow!" gasped the children. Miss Rabbit arrived to take everyone to the Space Museum. "Ruff! Really, we should be going there in a moon buggy," said Danny. "Not a bus."
How long until we get there? Asked Peppa. As long as it takes you to finish your apple, replied Miss Rabbit. Squeak! I've finished my apple, said Susie Sheep. Does that mean we're there? How about we sing a song for Miss Rabbit? Suggested Madame Gazelle. Something like... But before Madame Gazelle could finish, all the children started to sing. We're going to the moon. Will we get there soon? And they sang it to Miss Rabbit all the way to the museum. When they arrived at the museum, the children were met by a real astronaut, Grampy Rabbit.
"Hello there, fellow astronauts," he boomed. "Our space training mission today will take us to the moon. The ride may be bumpy, but it will be worth it when you get to see what it's like to walk on the moon."
Hooray! Cheered all the children. The children put on their special spacesuits and boots as quickly as they could.
"It's time to hop on board our spacecraft,"
called Grampy Rabbit when they were ready.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off!
Cheered all the little astronauts together. Grampy Rabbit and the children zoomed off on their training mission. On the way to the moon, Grampy Rabbit told the children all about the different planets in the solar system.
"There's Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and the dwarf planet Pluto," he said. "Robots have landed on Mars, but no one else has done so yet."
George was listening very carefully. "Mars," he whispered to himself.
Bump! "We have landed on the moon," said Grampy Rabbit. "Now, my little astronauts, it's time for you to see what it's like to walk on the moon. Just take one small step out of the spacecraft and one..."
Peppa and all her friends took giant leaps out of the spacecraft wearing Grampy Rabbit's anti-gravity rubber bands. "Whee!" said Peppa. The children had so much fun bouncing up and down with the anti-gravity rubber bands. They sang a song over and over again. Listen to our space tune. We're walking on the moon. Boing, boing, boing. "Wow!" gasped Peppa, bouncing over Madame Gazelle's head. "Walking on the moon is great, but jumping up and down on it is even better."
"It's time to get back down to Earth now, children," called
Grampy Rabbit. "Oh," sighed the children. When they arrived back on Earth, the children were sad.
"Remember, children, your adventure isn't really over," said Grampy Rabbit. "It's just beginning. If you keep training, you can all be real astronauts like me one day."
Yay! We're going to the moon, sang the children, and they sang it on the bus all the way back to playgroup. Space is amazing, Daddy, said Peppa that night. I want to be an astronaut so I can jump up and down on the moon every day. But George had set his sights on somewhere else. Mars, he whispered.
Ah, said Daddy Pig. Are you going to be the first piggy on Mars, George? Ho, 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 ho.
George nodded his head and smiled. That night, George dreamt he had gone into space with Peppa, and they were the first little piggies ever to jump up and down on Mars. And that was Peppa Pig.
Peppa in space!
Peppa Pig, Peppa's magical unicorn. Peppa's magical unicorn. One rainy day, Peppa invited Susie Sheep to her house to play. "Hello, Susie!" cried Peppa when she arrived. "Let's play with my horse." Peppa introduced Susie to her toy horse. "Susie, meet Horsey Twinkletoes! Horsey Twinkletoes, meet Susie!" "It's very nice to meet you, Miss Twinkletoes," said Susie politely. Peppa and Susie galloped off to Peppa's bedroom together. "Giddy up, Horsey!" shouted Peppa, racing around her room on Horsey Twinkletoes while Susie watched.
Thud, thud.
Daddy Pig heard all the noise and came upstairs to see what was going on. "We're playing horses!" cried Peppa.
I see,
said Daddy Pig, seeing Susie sitting quietly.
Do you think perhaps it's Susie's turn, Peppa?
asked Daddy Pig. "Yes," replied Peppa. "Come on, Susie, you can ride Horsey Twinkletoes now." "I don't want to play horses," sighed Susie. "I want to play unicorns." Peppa thought for a moment. "Well, Horsey Twinkletoes is a magic horse," she said. "She can be a unicorn whenever she feels like it." "Oh," said Susie. "Okay." Susie pranced around the room on Horsey Twinkletoes. Let's brush a beautiful tail," said Peppa. "But unicorns have rainbow tails," said Susie. "Oh," said Peppa, "that's okay. We can put coloured ribbons in it."
What a good idea,
said Daddy Pig.
You do that while I get you both a snack.
"Now we can fly in the sky on our unicorn," cheered Peppa. "But a unicorn has a horn to hold on when you fly," said Susie. "Horsey Twinkletoes doesn't have a horn." "Oh," said Peppa, "that's okay. She flies so gently you don't even have to hold on." Peppa and Susie took it in turns to fly around the room. "I wish Horsey Twinkletoes was a real unicorn," said Susie. "And I wish she was really, really, really sparkly," added Peppa.
I think Horsey Twinkletoes is tired, said Daddy Pig. Why don't you build her a den to sleep in?
"Yay!" cheered Peppa and Susie. While Peppa and Susie were busy building a den in the living room, Daddy Pig gathered some secret supplies for later.
Wow,
said Daddy Pig when Peppa and Susie had finished.
What a fantastic den!
Can we sleep in it tonight, Daddy? Asked Peppa. Please?
Of course, said Daddy Pig. If Mummy Pig says it's okay, you can have a sleepover in the den.
Hooray! Cheered Peppa and Susie. After dinner, Peppa and Susie got ready for their sleepover. Please, can you read us a bedtime story all about unicorns, Daddy? Asked Peppa.
Of course,
Daddy Pig replied. When the story was finished, Peppa and Susie snuggled up in their cosy den and fell fast asleep. While Peppa and Susie slept, Daddy Pig picked up Horsey Twinkletoes, tiptoed outside, and quietly set to work painting. And painting some more, then sticking, and sticking some more. And then Daddy Pig added the final touch. A horn! Daddy Pig sneaked back to the den to return Horsey Twinkletoes.
ta-da!
He whispered. Then he went upstairs and was about to go to sleep when he heard... Wow! Peppa and Susie gasped loudly. They had woken up to find that Horsey Twinkletoes had transformed into a magical unicorn. I told you Horsey Twinkletoes was magic, said Peppa. She's perfect, added Susie. The next morning, Peppa, Susie, George, Mummy and Daddy Pig all sat down for breakfast. Peppa told her family what had happened. And when we woke up, Horsey Twinkletoes had turned into a real unicorn! Gasped Peppa. It's magic! Said Daddy Pig sleepily. How wonderful, said Mummy Pig. It sounds like you and Susie have had the perfect sleepover. Yes, said Peppa, but why does Daddy have paint all over his face? Daddy Pig couldn't answer. He had fallen asleep at the table. After breakfast, Peppa and Susie headed off on a magical adventure with their new unicorn. I love your magical unicorn! Hooray! Cheered Susie. Me too, said Peppa. Everyone loves magical unicorns, especially Daddy Pig. It's magic! And that was Peppa Pig, Peppa's magical unicorn.
Peppa's painting. Peppa and George are going to do some painting. They lay out Daddy Pig's old newspaper. Hooray! Let's start painting, says Peppa. Peppa grabs her paintbrush and dips it into the yellow paint. Then George puts his hands into the blue paint. Silly George, says Peppa. Big children do not put their hands in the paint. Splat, splat. George loves painting with his hands. He prints his paint-covered hands all over the paper. Peppa loves painting with her hands too. Hee! Peppa giggles. she makes some yellow patterns on her paper. Daddy Pig is holding half a potato.
Watch this,
he says. He dips it in paint and stamps it onto some paper.
Who knows what I'm painting?
Asks Daddy Pig. It's a flower, cries Peppa. Daddy Pig finds his old painting things to show Peppa and George. Why are you wearing that silly hat? Asks Peppa.
It's my beret. It helps me paint,
says Daddy Pig.
I'm going to paint the cherry tree.
Peppa and George watch Daddy Pig painting the cherry tree.
What lovely green leaves,
says Daddy Pig. Daddy Pig mixes green and red paint to make brown for the tree trunk and the branches. Can I paint the cherries? Asks Peppa excitedly.
Yes, Peppa, says Daddy Pig. Dip your fingers in the paint and dot it onto the tree.
Peppa paints 3 red cherries.
Well done, Peppa,
says Daddy Pig. Now it is George's turn.
What a great painter you are, George,
says Daddy Pig.
The painting is finished.
Hooray! Says Peppa. All of a sudden, some ducks run over and splash into Daddy Pig's paint. Shoo! Naughty ducks! Shouts Peppa. Oh dear! The ducks have made tracks all over the garden and used up all the paint. Mummy comes to see what all the noise is about. The ducks used up our paint, says Peppa. But Mummy Pig spots something. The tracks in the garden make the grass all colourful. Hooray! Everyone cheers. Daddy Pig, your painting is perfect, says Mummy.
Oh, I am a bit of an expert at painting,
says Daddy. And so are the ducks. And that was Peppa Pig, Peppa's painting. Peppa Pig, Peppa's school project. It is the end of the day at Peppa's playgroup. For your school project, I want you to go home and make a castle, says Madame Gazelle. Use your imagination and make it big and fantastic. Can we use glitter? Asks Susie Sheep. Not too much glitter. It gets everywhere, says Madame Gazelle. The next morning, Peppa is eating breakfast. I'm doing a school project, says Peppa. I need to make a castle.
Stick these yogurt pots on this cereal box,
says Daddy Pig. No, Daddy, it has to be good, says Peppa.
I see,
says Daddy Pig. Over at Susie's house, Susie and Mummy Sheep are looking at the computer. Are you sure Madame Gazelle told you to make a real fairy palace? Asks Mummy Sheep. Yes, says Susie Sheep, with all the little fiddly bits. Right, says Mummy Sheep. I think I'll stay home today. Back at Peppa's house, Peppa draws a picture of the castle that she wants to make. But it needs to be big enough for me to live in, says Peppa. We need to find a big cardboard box then, says Mummy Pig. Just then, the doorbell rings. Ding dong! Mr. Zebra's at the door with a delivery.
It's just a light bulb,
says Daddy Pig, opening up the big box.
Why do they use so much packaging?
Shall I take the box away? Asks Mr. Zebra. No! Shouts Peppa. We need it for my project. After Mr. Zebra leaves, Mummy and Daddy Pig start making Peppa's castle. Peppa calls Susie on the phone.
How is your school project going?
Asks Peppa.
It's going very well,
Says Susie. Mummy Sheep puts a tower on the palace.
It needs to be more pointy, Mummy,
Says Susie.
How is your castle going?
Asks Susie.
It's hard work,
Says Peppa.
but Mummy and Daddy are helping me a teeny tiny bit.
What do you think of this tower, Peppa?
Asks Daddy.
It looks a bit cardboardy,
Says Peppa.
I need to get on with my work now. Goodbye, Susie.
Daddy Pig has painted Peppa's castle so it doesn't look cardboardy anymore. Says Peppa.
It just needs one more thing. Ooh, glitter!
No, not glitter,
Cries Daddy Pig. The next morning, Peppa and her friends have brought their castles to playgroup. Susie's fairy palace is very glittery. Wendy Wolf's castle is very glittery. Candy Cat's castle is very glittery. Emily Elephant's castle is very glittery.
My castle is made out of a cardboard box and lots of glitter,
Says Peppa. It is a very fine castle, says Madame Gazelle.
and so sparkly.
Now Madame Gazelle is very glittery. Peppa is very glittery. Even Mummy Pig is very glittery. Everyone is very glittery.
Isn't it wonderful what children can make using just their imaginations?
Says Madame Gazelle.
And my castle is big enough for me to live in. Hee!
Says Peppa. Peppa loves school projects. Everyone loves school projects, especially glittery ones. And that was Peppa Pig, Peppa's school project. Peppa Pig.
Super Peppa!
Super Peppa. It was all about me week at playgroup. Now, children, began Madame Gazelle, I'd like you to start by each drawing a picture of yourself. Ooh! Cried Peppa and her friends, grabbing the paints, crayons, and glitter. When they'd finished, they put their pictures on the wall.
We all look very important up on the wall,
Said Peppa proudly.
You are very important,
Replied Madame Gazelle.
I'm a bit wonky,
Said Susie Sheep, giggling. Next, Madame Gazelle asked the children to think about what they'd like to do.
I like bouncing,
Said Zoe Zebra, jumping up and down. I like standing on one leg, said Freddy Fox, trying to balance.
I like laughing,
Said Candy Cat, rolling on the floor and giggling.
Howl! I like howling really loudly,
howled Wendy Wolf. Lovely, said Madame Gazelle. You all like to do lots of different things. Now, think about what you're good at, said Madame Gazelle, and what you want to be when you grow up. I'm good at being clever, said Edmund Elephant. I'm going to be an astronaut and an anthropologist.
Ruff! I'm good at being brave,
said Danny Dog. I'm going to be a champion skateboarder. Whoosh!
I'm good at eating carrots,
cried Rebecca Rabbit.
I'm going to be, a carrot.
Next week, I'd like you to come dressed up as what you want to be when you grow up, said Madame Gazelle. Peppa put up her hand.
But I don't know what I want to be, she sighed. How will I know what to dress up as? Don't worry, Peppa, said Madame Gazelle. You can dress up as anything you like, even a carrot. Everyone giggled. But how do I choose? Asked Peppa. Why don't you talk to some grown-ups to see what they do? Suggested Madame Gazelle. They can help you decide. Okay, said Peppa. Just then the doorbell rang, and it was time to go home. Goodbye, everyone, said Madame Gazelle. See you next week. Goodbye, Madame Gazelle, called the children. The next day, Peppa asked Mummy Pig about her work. I write my stories on the computer, explained Mummy Pig. When I think of an idea, I go like this. Mummy Pig wrote an amazing story and read it to Peppa. Wow, Mummy! I want to be a writer just like you, said Peppa. You write super stories. You can be a writer, Peppa, said Mummy Pig. Why don't you try writing a story now? But what if I can't think of a story? Asked Peppa. You have to believe you can, said Mummy Pig. But what if people don't like it? Asked Peppa. You have to believe that they will, said Mummy Pig. Okay, said Peppa, and she told Mummy Pig a wonderful story about a princess, a frog, and a little prince. What a super story, said Mummy Pig. You see, Peppa, when you believe you can do something, it helps you do it. After lunch, Daddy Pig took Peppa to his muddy puddle jumping competition. I hope you win, Daddy, Peppa whispered.
I might, replied Daddy Pig. I am a bit of an expert.
Daddy Pig leapt high up into the air and landed with a perfect splash. He won the golden cup, and the crowd cheered, Hooray for Daddy Pig! Wow, Daddy! I want to jump in competitions, just like you, cried Peppa. You're a super muddy puddle jumper!
Why don't you try jumping now, Peppa?
Said Daddy Pig. But I'm not an expert like you, replied Peppa.
You can be an expert, said Daddy Pig. You just have to practice.
Daddy Pig helped Peppa practice jumping. Then Peppa leapt high up into the air and made an enormous splash. The crowd were covered in mud, and they cheered and cheered. Hooray for Peppa! That was amazing! Thank you, Daddy, said Peppa. Next, Peppa went to see Miss Rabbit. I hope you're ready for a busy day, Peppa, Miss Rabbit cried. Peppa followed her as she zoomed from one job to the next. They raced from the supermarket to the fire station, on to the museum, and then to the theatre. After that, Miss Rabbit took some visitors for a helicopter ride and sold everyone some yummy ice creams. Wow, Miss Rabbit, I want to be just like you and do lots of things, said Peppa as Miss Rabbit drove everyone home on the train. You're super at everything! If you work hard, you can be good at anything, said Miss Rabbit. Do I work hard? Asked Peppa. Yes, replied Miss Rabbit. "You've been working hard with me all afternoon. You're super at everything, just like me." But when she got home, Peppa was confused. She still didn't know who to dress up as for playgroup. "Mummy, Daddy and Miss Rabbit are super at everything, George. And I want to be just like them. But how can I dress up as everything?" "Super Potato!" cheered George, soaring his toy through the air. "That's it, George!" cried Peppa, having a clever idea. She headed straight to her dressing-up box. The next day at playgroup, all the children were dressed up. "I see you decided to be a superhero, Peppa," said Madame Gazelle. "I'm not a superhero," replied Peppa. "I am super! Mummy, Daddy and Miss Rabbit said if you believe in yourself, practice and work hard, you can be super at anything. And I do. So I'm Super Peppa." "Oh, wonderful, Peppa," said Madame Gazelle. Super! Super Peppa! Everyone cheered, racing over to the dressing-up box. When they came back, they were all wearing super costumes, just like Peppa. Mummy Pig, Daddy Pig and Miss Rabbit had helped Peppa to be super. And now Peppa had helped everyone else to be super too. "Super Peppa! Super everyone!" announced Madame Gazelle, swishing her cape from side to side. "We are all super!" And that was Peppa Pig. Super Peppa! I hope you enjoyed that. If you do, please like the video. And remember, you can always subscribe to the channel at Read Us a Story. Thanks. Bye!